Okay, we're going to be looking at M5-1. M5-1 asks us to match each one of these instances or descriptions with a component of the fraud triangle. So first, let's remind ourselves what's in the fraud triangle. Fraud triangle has three components: opportunity, rationalization, and incentive. And the idea is that these three characteristics, when present, greatly heighten the risk for fraud. And so what we're trying to do is determine what these descriptions are trying to allude to as it relates to the three components of the fraud triangle. So the first one says an employee has significant personal debt. A personal debt will be an incentive, a reason, a pressure for an individual to commit fraud. So that would be incentive for this first answer. The next one is one employee receives and deposits customer checks. Again, receives and deposits. This is related to a similar problem that we did earlier in the chapter where we looked at segregation of duties. These are related responsibilities. Receives and deposits these customer checks. So if a customer check came in, I could simply sign it over to cash and then act like it never actually came in and deposit it elsewhere. In other words, we have a related responsibility that's being done by one person, and that creates an opportunity. And so this next one is going to be opportunity. Okay, then it says the CFO feels she is underpaid relative to other financial officers, and therefore she may feel like she deserves it. You know, you could think of this as underpaid being that she doesn't have enough money, but that's reading too much into the problem. What they're trying to get at is this idea: if she feels that she's underpaid, she may be rationalizing the idea that she's owed this money from the company. And so the company therefore deserves to be taken advantage of, to have the fraud happen because she hasn't been paid for what's rightfully hers, what she's due. And so in that instance, we have a rationalization. Okay, the last one says that the manager approval is not required for expense reports. In other words, there's not someone else checking, there's no independent check over the expenses that are being submitted. And because there's no one else looking at it, that again creates an opportunity. It's not that these opportunities are always acted upon. Remember, you have these other two components as well. Right? There's got to be a reason someone acts upon the opportunity. There's got to be a rationalization for them at least to be able to sleep with it at night. So at the end of the day, just because there's opportunity doesn't mean there's fraud. But these three characteristics present together greatly heighten the risk for fraud to take place.